The flashbulbs were blinding. My ex-husband, Julian, stood on the gala stage, basking in the glow, accepting the Philanthropist of the Year award. He was the charismatic face of the Phoenix Foundation, the prestigious charity for disaster relief that I had built from the ground up. He spoke eloquently about his passion for helping others, his voice thick with a humility that made my stomach turn. He had stolen my foundation, my reputation, and my life's work. He had painted me as an unstable, incompetent founder and had me pushed out. He thought he was untouchable, a saint in a bespoke suit. He had no idea I had been secretly feeding information to an investigative journalist for the past 6 months. And the bombshell exposé detailing how he had been funneling millions in donations into his own offshore accounts was set to drop in exactly 10 minutes, right in the middle of his acceptance speech. The Phoenix Foundation was my heart and soul. After surviving a devastating earthquake years ago, I had dedicated my life to building a better, faster, and more transparent disaster relief organization. I was a field operator, not a fundraiser. I was more comfortable in a dusty relief camp than in a glittering ballroom. That's why I brought in Julian. He was a smooth, charming fundraiser with a network of wealthy contacts. We fell in love and got married. I thought we were a team, united by a common cause. The change was gradual. He took over the public-facing role, charming donors and schmoozing with the elite. He convinced the board that I was a brilliant but emotional founder who wasn't suited for the tough decisions of leadership. He engineered a vote that moved me from CEO to a powerless founder emeritus role. Then, citing my instability and resistance to his vision, he had me removed entirely. The charity I had bled for was now his personal kingdom. My heartbreak was quickly replaced by suspicion. The foundation's public financials looked perfect, but the on-the-ground impact seemed to be shrinking. Aid was arriving slower. Projects were being mysteriously downsized. I still had loyal friends within the organization, field agents who were as dedicated as I was. They started sending me whispers, encrypted messages about discrepancies, funds allocated for medical supplies that never arrived, invoices for construction projects that were never built. Using my old contacts and my deep knowledge of the foundation's inner workings, I began my own secret forensic audit. What I found was a breathtakingly audacious scheme. Julian had set up a series of shell corporations disguised as logistics and supply vendors in tax havens. He was awarding these fake companies massive inflated contracts, then funneling the money directly into his own secret accounts. He wasn't just skimming off the top, he was gutting the foundation from the inside out, stealing money meant for widows and orphans. I knew I couldn't go to the board. He had them completely under his spell. I couldn't go to the police without irrefutable proof that would stand up in court. So I went to the one person I knew who could detonate this story with maximum impact, a tenacious, Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist named Marcus Thorne. For 6 months, I was his anonymous source, the Phoenix. I fed him everything: internal documents, bank transfer records, the names of the shell corporations. He built the case brick by brick, verifying every detail, preparing a story that would not just expose Julian, but obliterate him. We timed the release of the article to coincide with the moment of his greatest triumph, the Philanthropist of the Year awards. Which brings us back to the gala. Julian was on stage, holding his award, tears of false humility in his eyes. "This award isn't for me," he said, his voice cracking. "It's for the victims, the people we serve." As he spoke, a quiet buzz began to spread through the ballroom. Phones started to light up. I watched as the faces of the wealthy donors in the front row turned from adoration to confusion, then to pale, slack-jawed horror as they read the news alert that had just popped up on their screens. The headline was simple and devastating. "The Phoenix Fraud. Investigation reveals charity hero Julian Croft embezzled millions in disaster relief funds." The article, Marcus's masterpiece, was live. It had everything: bank records, flowcharts showing the money trail, and even quotes from my anonymous insider detailing the human cost of his greed.
Julian was blinded by the stage lights and was oblivious for a precious few seconds. He faltered as the applause he was expecting was replaced by a rising tide of angry, shocked whispers. He looked out at the sea of faces, no longer looking at him with admiration, but with pure, unadulterated contempt. His PR aide rushed to the side of the stage, frantically gesturing, her face a mask of panic. He hadn't just lost an award. He had lost his reputation, his freedom, and his entire fabricated identity in the space of a single news cycle. I didn't stay to watch him be torn apart by the monster he had created. I slipped out a side door. I didn't need to see his downfall. I had authored it. He had stolen my foundation, a symbol of hope. I had made sure it would become a symbol of his eternal disgrace.